the sunset on Tennessee hills. I wish I could capture it, I never will. 'Cause I'm not a painter, can't stay in the lines. Just sitting here sipping on dandelion wine.
My name is Beth Henry, and my husband and I and my parents live on Rising Meadow Farm in 2 separate houses. And we have sheep here. My daughter has cows here. And that's what we do. We sell meat. We sell lamb meat. We used to sell yarn and fleeces and things like that, but we've downsized.
Just sitting here sipping on dandelion wine. All my life I've known some things you can't control.
We moved to North Carolina in 1993. My parents were in New York at the time, and Winfield and I and 2 of our children were in Connecticut. So we've been Rising Meadow for 30 years, and when we moved here, we had to rebuild 2 houses, build barns, reclaim fields into pasture. They had been used as corn. The local dairy had been renting the fields to grow corn, and did the fencing, any kind of gardens. So pretty much just reclaim it as a farm in the way we wanted it to be a farm.
All my life I've known some things you can't control.
The reason that we moved to North Carolina was partially because we were all at a standstill with employment and looking for jobs and looking for something different to do. It was sort of a way to change our lifestyle.
We were in our early 50s, and we were living in upstate New York, and our oldest daughter and her husband came to us. They had just started their family, and they said, you know, you've had a farm most of Beth's life, and you've always talked about someday living there, living on the farm full time. And we want a large family, and we'd like to go in with you and buy a farm, and we'll raise our children, and we'll work together and, you know, keep the farm going. So Ann and I talked about it, and we thought it was a good idea, made sense. We were ready for a change.
So with that, when we moved to North Carolina, my parents in New York had some cows, had a couple of cows, as well as 4 sheep. And we thought definitely we'd like to do some sheep farming and see what we could do with yarn and roving and lamb, and then also continue to have cows. So when we moved here, we brought a couple of cows with us. We brought Fergie and Di, named after, yes, Princess Diana and Fergie, and also 4 sheep. I think my favorite part of moving down here is sort of creating something that wasn't. Yes, this piece of property has always been a farm. The family that owned it before us farmed it, but we farm it in a different way, and I think that is really quite remarkable.
That's the thing. You know, you make it yours. You haven't just bought something that, you know, came out of a package or somebody else did. You just buy into it, and it's yours, and that's a good thing. It makes you feel good. I think you learn a lot from working with animals and working with nature.
One of the things that I like about our farm is that we have a variety of animals. And so each one offers a different perspective on life, I guess.
Over the course of several years, we've had llamas, we've had alpacas.
Of course, we have a Labrador retriever, and she's wonderful.
And we have chickens.
And we have chickens. So we have fresh eggs. That's good.
So we do such a variety. I think that's been my favorite. And I love the lambs. I mean, you know, just babies in general, but you know, little lambs, there's something special.
The real excitement of new birth, you know, it's kind of like watching the grass and the flowers and the trees come out and the lambs come. You know, and they bounce around. The lambs have so much fun. And they just, if you come out here at feeding time and the moms are busy feeding and the lambs, they will get their little groups together and they go racing around the pasture. They just, and in the barn and up and down, and they just have the best time. And it's that excitement of new life. I like looking out onto pastures and seeing the animals there. To see them out free, doing their thing, you know, it's just a good feeling.
And I think the idea of family and a place to call home. Part of one of the reasons we moved here is for a quality of life. Is, you know, what can we give them and what experiences could they have here that we weren't able to give or wouldn't have been able to give to them living up in Connecticut. Winfield and I have 4 children, and my sister and her family live nearby. They all will come and help do different projects on the farm if we ask or if we need more help. And that is a really wonderful thing. It's really fun to see people come together and get to see each other. And it's, you know, we love getting together at holidays and special events, but it's also really nice just to get together to help each other out. And that's one of the great things of a multi-generational farm. I hear my older children talk about, you know, this is their home. This is where, you know, this is where they grew up, and it was, and their cousins feel that same way about my parents' house and where my parents are. That is a piece of home that they're going to. So it's been a great experience and a great way for us to raise our children. But they've watched pets either die from something or had to be processed. They've watched lambs have to go to be processed and sold. And so that, I feel like, was a really good life lesson. Not only where their food has come from and the importance of the environment and how it affects their food, but also that is a piece of reality. And they all have pets too, so it hasn't taken away from their love of a pet. We've always had pets, so they know the difference of a pet and an animal that is here to do a job, essentially. And while a lot of our sheep do have names, only the ones that stay have names. Any lamb or any animal that was not going to stay on the farm was not given a name. So we tried to instill the difference in them as well. The way we decide to keep sheep and which ones stay and which ones go, first is fleece. We look at their fleece. It's also temperament. It's also a lineage, so that we can use rams more often than just once. And also how many lambs they've had. Are they having trouble lambing? Are they having trouble maintaining a pregnancy or getting pregnant? Are they able to feed their lambs? Do they have good milk production? So they're all considerations like that go into how we determine which ewes are kept. As far as lambs go, it's the same thing. We keep some for replacement so that we don't have to go outside of the farm and bring in new lambs from other places. And rams, same thing. We keep them as replacement, and then as the older ones get too old, we move them on, and then we just use the ones that have been born on the farm. And that way we don't mix lines, and make sure that we're breeding in an honorable, respectful, appropriate way.
We've been very fortunate, and pretty much we keep our own stock for replacement, and that ends up being a nice thing, and it's also very healthy for the animals. Right now we have 6 rams out on the pasture. We would have 12, 14 rams, so that you have 2 bloodlines of everything you're breeding. The first breed we had was the Dorset breed.
I really like the Dorset breed. They're a calm sheep. They're an easy ewe to have around. They're not really big.
Dorset sheep are wonderful. They're kind of like lab dogs. They're just friendly and solid. They're wonderful mothers. They always have plenty of milk for their babies.
Their lambs grow fast, and they have nice sized legs. So as far as meat goes, that's a good breed.
I think before the dairy industry for sheep started in this country, before you could bring in East Frisian sheep, the Dorset and the Tunis were the sheep that were used for milk because they tend to have more milk.
They are great dual purpose. They have nice fleeces as well.
It's a downy fleece. It's very puffy, and so it's absolutely wonderful for blankets, comforters, whatever, and it just feels good. So you have a blanket that's warm, but very light. The next breed that we have is Corriedale. They are a combination of Merino and Lincoln. The Merino sheep is a wonderful sheep, but their wool is not, it's very fine and it's not strong. And so by putting the breeds together, they came up with a Corriedale. I think that was done in Australia a number of years back. So the wool is soft and you can wear it next to your skin, but it's strong and you don't wear out the elbows of your sweaters, that kind of thing. It's also a meat wool sheep, and the meat is very good, and they have a nice disposition also.
The Corriedale has been really nice, and then the natural colors are so beautiful and so fun. It's fun to watch them change over time. They start off, as dark colors, and as they lighten or become variegated with some dark and light on them, it's just it's a fun. So as far as, there aren't any breeds I don't like, and sheep are like people. They all have different personalities, so you hate to judge them based on what they look like or the kind of wool they have, because there's some great ones out there that may not be the best in the flock, but they're the most wonderful to be around. So.
You can learn a lot from these animals. They are so smart. They figure things out, and they know if their babies need extra something. They know how many babies they have. If there's a storm coming, they seem to know where to go and what to do. And even a hurricane, they will find a place and they will hunker down. And cows will do that, and all of them do that. They, as long as they're not penned up and they are forced into staying in a place, they really are good. The whole deal with man getting involved trying to control nature, right? We shouldn't do that, probably. Anyhow, we do. You just have to try to balance that out and convince yourself you're doing the right thing by just having them. It's amazing to watch them.
We used to do some events pre-COVID to open it up, to show people this is what we do.
We have always loved to have people come to the farm, because if you're going to buy our wool or buy our meat, I want you to see how these animals are raised.
It's sort of marketing at its best, because people are seeing where, if they like lamb, they're seeing where the lamb come from, they're seeing where the sheep live.
It just makes you feel like what you're eating or what you're working with in wool has some extra value to it because you've seen that part of it.
Oh my gosh, she's so cute.
There's a people connection in all of that too. There's a feeling about knowing about the place and, oh yes, I know about that, and this is what they do, and people are like that. They really like that feeling, that they've been connected. That's a good feeling. People were invited to come here 3 different times a year, shearing day, and we always had a spring open farm, and then fall open farm we had called Farm Fest for years, and people would come. Shearing day is a very important time on the farm because we want to get all the sheep sheared. It is wonderful to have them sheared before they lamb, and makes life a lot easier. You can see what's happening with the mother, and then the wool doesn't get yucked up either.
We let everybody know when we're going to shear, and we get help from everybody. That's one of the wonderful things. We'll have our children will come back to help out if they're able to, because they all have their separate lives. My sister and her family, the ones that are able to, will come and help.
And we like to share that with people, and so we've always had, since we've started, had that Saturday shearing day open to the public, and people could come and watch and see how it was done, and people come and realize that those sheep are not hurt. In fact, I think they probably look forward to losing some of all of that fleece.
We have Kevin Ford from Massachusetts come down with blade shearing.
We have had Kevin Ford shear our sheep since we've been here, since '94.
This is my 28th year.
He's wonderful, and we love the shearing with the blade shears. It's so quiet.
A blade sheep shearer is one who uses no electricity, no power. I just have one pair of blades. And blades is a term for hand shears that actually originated in New Zealand. The sheep require humans to shear them as part of good husbandry because they no longer can shed their wool. We developed them to grow more wool and then not to be able to shed it. And so they require us, and it's our obligation now, since we've developed them, to hold on to their wool until we shear it, that now we must shear it. It's for their own benefit. Well, sheep are a lovely animal. They benefit us remarkably, and we really should respect the animal for all its gifts. It's something that not too many people think much about when they, even those who appreciate a good wool garment, are too distant from the animal to realize what it goes through in its own life to provide us with this remarkable fiber.
When we first moved down here, we used several different resources to help us, and over the years as well. It wasn't even just a one-time deal, but NC State came out, Jim Green and his crew came out and helped us with deciding what kind of grasses would be the best grasses to plant, since we were planting over fields that had been corn had been grown on. That's one of the things that Winfield is really interested in, is the bringing back the pastures. He's done a lot of research on the grasses and what would be good grasses for both sheep and cows, and they really are, they eat different things, so they're mutually beneficial. That's sort of like a future thing as we go on. What can we do to make it better? Because you have to always make things better. We also have used the extension agency with the cows, and we are able to use like their chute to help get the cows to put ear tags and things like that in. So we were able to use those resources. We were part of a government resource. We got waterers that don't freeze put in, and neighbors. We have the best neighbors who have been so helpful. Any kind of questions, no matter how silly or how important they were to us, they would come and help us. Williams Dairy, so helpful, everybody there. Anytime we had a problem, or continue to, if we've had an issue, they'll come help us. And that has been, that was instrumental in helping us not only stay here, but be able to be a productive farm. Farming is real, in my opinion, farming is really important because it's the root, it's the basis, it's sort of how I would say most cultures start and be able to continue is through some sort of farming. I feel like even if we ever live in space, they're gonna come up with a way to grow things and to have something, because they're gonna need farming. It will look different probably, but it will still be a type of farming. Just like farming in 2021 and all the different types of farms, it's different. It's different than it was in the 1940s. Parts of it are the exact same, but there are parts that are different because we are different and technology is different and what we've learned is different. But it is sort of the heart of humans. Farming is. And whether you don't have to be a farmer, you don't have to live on a farm. If you plant a container tomato, you are doing some sort of farming, because you are doing something that has to do with the root and the heart of your eating. And so I feel like farming is really important in so many different ways.